I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies I love, the alternative, B-rated, cold-style flicks. This week, we're continuing the Kickboxer series. This one was made in 1991, and was directed by Albert Peen, the guy who directed Cyborg, and written by David S. Goyer. Produced by Tom Karnowski, and made by Kings Road Entertainment, and distributed by Trimark Pictures, Vision International, and Lionsgate. Ladies and gentlemen, Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. The movie opens with the kid brother of Eric and Kirk Sloan, the guys from the original movie, who never mentioned or even hinted at the concept of having a little brother. But hey, Van Damme didn't want to come back for this movie, so they had to get somebody else. David Sloan is played by Sasha Mitchell, and he is trying to keep the kickboxing school that apparently he and his brothers started going, even though it's really failing. And he, by his head student, Lisa, gets introduced to a potential student and troubled youth, Tommy.
Doesn't look like a champion to me.
Tommy's played by a very young Brian Austin Green. The girl brought Tommy to David to show him what David could do blindfolded. So David puts on the blindfold, leans down, and tells Tommy, "Take your best shot." But Tommy can't hit him, even though he's blinded by that blindfold.
Sometimes when you're blind and times seem darkest, you often see things more clearly.
Message!
Looks like a champion to me.
And the main lesson that Tommy learns is that girls just love to be right. Then we go to the gym where David and his top student Brian are giving a sparring demonstration to the younger students. While they're giving this sparring demonstration, a fight promoter comes in and wants to talk business with David Sloan.
Justin Micaiah, sports visionary.
The promoter, Justin Micaiah, is played by the late oh-so-great Peter Boyle. Rest in peace. Micaiah believes that he can elevate the kickboxing game in the United States by promoting a match for an organization he just created with David Sloan versus his champion,
Neil Vargas.
Yeah, heavyweight kickboxing champ.
Don't do it, David! He'll suck your brain out to make drugs! Neil Vargas is played by Matthias Hughes, who was in another movie I reviewed not that long ago. He played Talek, the bad alien.
I come in peace.
Yeah, that one. David does not want to fight anymore, so he turns him down.
That guy's a con man.
Oh, give him a break, David. He's got a brain that's abby-normal. Then we meet another troubled youth, a much younger one, since apparently Brian Austin Green was only available for filming for one day. He wants to take lessons, but he doesn't have any money.
If I had money, do you think I'd be in this crappy dump?
Aw, who could say no to such a puanum? David says he will train him if he does some chores around the gym and proves himself.
Okay, here's the deal. You kick this bag 500 times and I'll train you. You got that?
And this is why his gym is going bankrupt. David's business partner Jack tells him, "You're going out of business. If you want to keep this business going, you're going to have to take a couple of fights." He even mentions that his brothers kept the business going by fighting. David doesn't want to, though, because in his opinion, it was fighting that got his brothers killed.
What killed your brothers was fighting in Thailand.
And this is how they explain Kurt and Eric not being in this movie. David's top student Brian is getting frustrated because in his opinion, he's ready to go fight professionally.
Right, at least let me get you a good manager. Micaiah is wrong for you.
But Brian doesn't care. He storms off. He's going to go work for Micaiah so he can make the big bucks. Which in the 80s in kickboxing really wasn't that much money. Still really isn't just for straight up kickboxing. Like, if you want to make a living kickboxing, you're going to have to do MMA. I mean, seriously, you don't believe me? The actor, Vince Murdocco, who played Brian, was a former kickboxing cruiserweight champion of the world. And he left kickboxing to pursue his more lucrative career of starring in a bunch of B-movies, like this one. B-movie acting and stunt work paid him a lot more than kickboxing. David has reached a decision.
Listen, set me up with that fight, okay? Before I change my mind.
There you go! The next day, Jack informs David that the only fight he could get him was with Neil Vargas.
Look, if it makes you feel any better, you don't have any other options.
And if it makes you feel better, he comes in peace. As David is walking to the ring, he sees Brian, who stops to ask him, "What's the difference between you working for Micaiah versus fighting one of his fighters?"
Difference is he doesn't own me.
Let's go, champ.
Okay, but if he did own you, then upon request, his wife Marie would make you some delicious steak pizzaioli. Even though Vargas is a much bigger fighter, this fight is extremely one-sided towards David Sloan.
Ew.
Stop spitting! David wins. And during his post-match interview...
As of now, I'm retiring. I got what I came for.
Yeah, I don't think the one fight is going to pull you out of that hole forever. Maybe get you out of your current hole, get the electricity paid and all that stuff, but what about next month? Again, you're not going to make millions being a kickboxer. Of course, this is bad press for Mikaya, so his business partner, Sanga, played by Kori Hiroyuki Tagawa, tells Mikaya that he needs to find a way to get David to have at least one more match. At least one more. At the gym, as David is putting the little homeless kid Joey to bed, he gets a visit.
Just a little payback, Sloan.
David fights them off as best he can, but there's 3 of them and the building's on fire. And as good a kickboxer as he is, Vargas has a gun. And to make things worse...
The boy died, Davy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so after this, maybe next time you encounter a little homeless kid, you call social services. Also, Jack is bringing someone to help David.
Your brother's teacher from Thailand.
Zien! And don't worry, David. He has no coconuts. When David finally awakens and is clear-minded, he wants to know how Zien got there.
Super Saver. I also got free rental car and half-price tickets to Disneyland.
Score! Sanga is about to hire a thug. It's Fender from Cyborg! In this movie, he's casted as Thai Thug. Sanga tells Thai Thug about Tong Po, who lost a match to Kurt Sloan, and instead of getting a rematch, did something that made it to where Tong Po nor his organization could ever get their honor back. He killed Kurt and Eric. So there you go, you're caught up. But now that Sanga knows about David, David can be the key to them getting their honor back.
Make sure nothing happens to David Sloan, or you will pay with your life.
Take him surfing, war child. Sanga also has plans for Brian.
You want to fight for the championship?
Yeah.
David is getting out of the hospital. Zien wants to begin training.
No, you didn't do my brothers any good. What the hell do you think you're gonna do for me?
He could teach you how to catch people in a rope. Just be cautious. It makes you very hungry. Zien isn't giving up.
I'm not as good as Kurt and Eric. I never was.
Of course, Zien does convince David to let him train him.
Gee, thanks.
You know, those aren't very expensive. He can just go buy more. As we see the montage of David training and rehabbing, we also see Brian training and having a couple of fights, all preparing him for his upcoming title fights. Although these matches are all a little too close together. You gotta remember, professional fighters fight like 2-3 times a year at most. He's fighting like every other week.
You're fighting the champion in a couple of days. This'll make you stronger.
Should have listened to David. Sanga goes to talk to Brian, and even brings up his old trainer David. Tells him he should invite him to his title fight.
Mr. Sloan must be there to share with you in the moment of glory.
You really don't sense something's wrong here? So, of course, Brian goes to see David.
Here's some tickets. Bring my mom. Been waiting for this all my life.
David is concerned because he can tell Brian must be on steroids.
People make choices. He's made his.
He's right. It's all about healthy living. At the title fight, last minute, they inform the champion that he's injured. But Sanga has a replacement. Who could it possibly be?
Just make the announcement, damn it!
Okay. So now we see the replacement.
The fighter's name is Tong Po, ladies and gentlemen!
What a surprise. Michelle Kizzy returns as Tong Po. And of course, Tong Po is beating the life out of Brian with illegal knees, illegal elbows, because Tong Po does not care about winning. It's not about wins and losses to him, it's about sending a message to David Sloan. A message that Zien is picking up very clearly.
This fight must be stopped! He killed your brothers!
At some point, the referee, who's played by the legend Judo Jean LaBelle, stops the fight. Somebody stop this! Tong Po still doesn't care. He's not done beating on Brian. In In the locker room, the state athletic commissioner has some words for Micaiah.
There's gonna be criminal charges. You're through. You're washed up, pal.
Of course, Micaiah is upset because he now realizes that Sanga, being his business partner, was all a ruse. He was using him just for this, and he destroyed his empire.
Well, your time in trouble.
Now he's over it. As far as Brian...
I'm sorry.
And at the most inappropriate time, Sanga shows up to talk to David.
A match is yours. Here, 2 hours.
Well, none of this feels rushed at all. David and Zien are having a discussion before the fight.
Sanga sent you to me, didn't he?
Yes and no. Jack didn't know what was going on and contacted Zien at Sanga's request. Sanga wanted to trick Zien into training David so that he would be a worthy opponent for Tong Po. Zien admits, though, that part of him really just wanted revenge on Tong Po himself.
Tong Po killed my niece along with your brothers.
He also hit Zien's dog Kiki with the car! Everybody we love from the first movie is dying! Ah! Ah!
No!
And now the fight!
This was how we fought.
He's not actually dipping his hands in broken glass. What they're using is actually silicone ice. Could still cut you, but it's not as deadly. The fight is mostly one-sided to Tong Po. David is getting a couple of good shots here and there, but Tong Po is beating him mercilessly. Beating him so bad that at some point, David's vision is getting blurred to the point that he can't really see Tong Po at all. He's got blood in his face, he's got scars over his eyes. It looks like David is pretty much done. Once he's down, Tong Po has a very unusual way of kicking his opponent while he's down.
You're the weakest of all the slums.
Hey, to be fair, he's lasted longer than Eric did. But David remembers back to his scene that he had with Brian Austin Green.
I tell you what, you take your best shot.
And of course... this leads to him turning the tide on Tong Po. All the way up until... Dude! What? Think I was going to do a movie with Sasha Mitchell and not bring up Step by Step? I love that show. Well, I did love that show. Until Cody left. But now, Sanga is pissed!
I have no honor.
And your soul is mine. Yes, he's in this. Of course I was going to do a Mortal Kombat reference. But David isn't going down like that. Now that revenge is done, David reopens his gym. And again, Lisa brings in some more troubled youths to have David show what he can do blindfolded. But just as he's about to show him...
Time out! My treat!
Yeah! Oh, Zien. So there you have it. That's Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. This would be the first of 3 movies that Sasha Mitchell would play the lead in the Kickboxer series. The last one he wasn't in, and we'll get to it. The movie only had a box office of $1.2 million, mostly because it had such a limited theater release. Most of the money this movie made was off of VHS rentals. Then again, wasn't a huge budget put into the movie, especially when they realized that Van Damme was not going to be coming back for the sequel. He turned it down to go make Double Impact, which I can't say was a bad move, as that movie made a lot more money. But then again, maybe this would have made more money with Van Damme, but who cares? I liked Sasha Mitchell in this one. The overall criticism of this movie was that it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was just okay. A lot of critics felt that it was just a very vanilla story with a very thrown together script and very predictable. They also really didn't like that Van Damme didn't come back to reprise his role as Kurt. Then again, that was kind of out of everybody else's hands. He didn't want to. I have to agree with some of the criticism in that, yeah, the story wasn't very original, and yes, there were things that felt very thrown together. Like obviously them coming up with David Sloan, Kurt and Eric's brother, just seemed way too convenient. Might not have been if they had mentioned another brother in the first movie, but they didn't, and they never alluded to one. It was basically as if they didn't have one, because they didn't. The producers, before making this movie, did hire a stand-in to play Kirk Sloan, but it was decided that it was probably not a good idea to have him be a huge part in this movie, as people would have accepted a younger brother a lot easier than they would have accepted somebody filling in for Van Damme, which I gotta agree with. We only see that stand-in in the scene where Tong Po shot Kurt, and also in a couple of pictures. But apparently that scene that was very quickly was actually dramatically cut. It was originally much longer, but the director Albert Peen thought that that fight between Kurt and Tong Po over Kurt's life was actually much more impressive than the end fight that he had filmed with Sasha Mitchell and Michelle Kizzy. So he cut it to just giving us the backstory. Whereas I would not say that this is my favorite in the Kickboxer series, I did feel, though, that it was a decent follow-up. Might have been better if some more money was put into it, but it is what it is. It was a movie that was made to be a straight-to-video movie. They just decided last minute to put it into a couple of theaters. However, it did make a profit, which is the most important thing, and it did spawn more sequels. I would have been happy with it if it had just spawned one more sequel, but again, we will get to that later. However, for the moment, like I said, I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a good movie, and I would definitely recommend that you guys check out the sequel to Kickboxer, Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. It's worth watching. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. Tell me which of the Kickboxer movies was your favorite. Love you guys.